sponsor. Hello and welcome to my channel if this is the first video of mine that you are watching, but if it is not, welcome back. As you can tell by the title of the video today, I am going to be filming a reading vlog, and as you can tell by my voice, I have come down with another cold. So there's going to be a lot of B-roll in this reading vlog, and hopefully I can edit out most of my very gross little sniffles. But it is 1 week until the end of October, and even though my October TBR is only going up tomorrow when I am filming this, I wanted to film a reading vlog of me trying to make my way through the remaining books on my TBR because I have not read as much as I had aspired to this month. But I had a very slow morning and I did finish volume 6 of the Revival series. This is the Loyal Sons and Daughters. So I think I might finish the Revival series today. I'm certainly going to try, and I can't say very much about the 6th volume in the series without spoiling it all. And I know I have talked at length about this series on my channel already. So I will spare you from having to listen to me repeat myself and take a moment to say a few new things about this series. One, a fun little interesting Easter egg, I guess you could say, is that in one of the earlier volumes, there was a reference to Patrick Rothfuss, and it was really, really subtle. It was literally just his name written on one of the books in the background. And he has actually given a blurb to this series, and he's on the front here saying that it is a fantastic read and that this is his favorite comic period, this series, the Revival series. So he's obviously a big fan of this series, and they actually wrote him in to volume 6, which I think is just really fun and cool. And I will say I have been a little bit critical of this series for how women are depicted and how heavy the male gaze tends to be, but I do have to give Seeley and Norton credit for the representation that they have put into this series so far in volume 6, and I imagine that it's going to continue because it does just keep growing and growing. While our 3 main characters, the Cypress family, are white, there are so many supporting POC characters, and in this book there is a female POC character who is introduced into a really high position of power. So I will say that I appreciate the way that they are telling the story with a fair bit of representation. There is LGBTQ plus representation, and like I said, there are people in positions of power that are POC. This series has also depicted religious fanaticism and religious zealots in a really interesting and infuriating way, with people coming back from the dead. There is obviously, that's just kind of part and parcel of it. There are folk who think when it's your time, you should not come back. There are folks who are seeing this as a way to extend their lifeline forevermore. And then there are the religious zealots who are seeing this as the second coming. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself properly. I am stuffed to the gills with Buckleys right now, and my brain is absolutely struggling through that fog that descends when you are sick. So hopefully when I do my monthly wrap up, I will have some more coherent thoughts about this series. That said, I am gonna still continue to read today, so we'll see how that goes for me. But yes, I finished volume 6 of Revival this morning. And then as I was puttering around, I was listening to the audiobook of Wolf Hall. Now, I'm only almost a third of the way into this book. So Thomas Cromwell just had an encounter, a meeting, informal meeting with Henry VIII. Currently, the Cardinal is in the King's bad graces, and Cromwell is unsure what his future holds. So that's where I'm at. There's still lots and lots to happen within this book and within the larger series, but I'm really enjoying Wolf Hall so far. I feel as if it's been a little while since I've read historical fiction, or at the very least, it's been a long while since I've read historical fiction that was not historical romance. So I am really enjoying this book. And I will say that I agree with my professor from way back when, that the way Mantel is able to flesh out these characters and add motivations and create these little intimate moments and conversations that we have no clue how they would have engaged with one another. The way Mantel is able to create those scenes is incredibly well done, in my humble opinion. I have been reading Wolf Hall entirely via audiobook. The only thing that I've done with my physical copy is just move my bookmark along with my audiobook progress. But yes, I have been enjoying it, like I've already said. I am going to curl back up on my couch. I think I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea, and I think I might put a pause on Wolf Hall and move on to volume 7 of Revival, which is Forward. And featured on the cover here is the character that I spoke about, who was introduced in the 6th volume, General Kale. So yes, I'm gonna start Forward, probably finish it, and I will check in when I have some more thoughts to share. But before we dive into more B-roll of me reading, I did film a few bits and pieces of me decorating my mantelpieces and my apartment for Halloween and autumn. So I think I'm gonna squeeze those in here to create a cozy and inviting atmosphere. So enjoy. Reading update time, and I'm looking a little bit frazzled and worse for wear because I got home from work about an hour ago or so. It is 10 to 10 on the 30th of October tonight. So we're almost at the end of October. I didn't quite manage to read as much as I wanted to read this month, but I think I am gonna wrap up this reading vlog tomorrow on Halloween, and I have a little bit of spooky makeup and some festive t-shirts happening, but I did want to give a little update on what I did manage to accomplish reading this past weekend. And predominantly that is that I finished the Revival series. I read the last volume on Sunday, and 6 and 7 I finished on Saturday. And I am really happy to have reached the final volume and finished out this series. I will say that I think the series improved as we got closer to the end, and my appreciation for the series increased as we got closer to the end. Overall, I still found, especially in the first few volumes, the male gaze to be quite heavy in this book. I've talked about how the female characters were depicted and the quite violent acts that took place to women within this series, but I found the male gaze to soften quite a bit as we neared the final volume, and I think that is because we are finally looking at the bigger picture. With the Revival comic book series, Seeley and Norton were trying to make some claims and provide some commentary and discussion concerning humanity and how mortality ties in to our humanity. They were also trying to provide some discussion and commentary on religious fanaticism and government overreach, like I had talked about previously. And I don't think they quite hit the mark for me in my reading of this series. I definitely found it to be interesting and entertaining, as well as the illustrations throughout this comic book series were really beautifully and macabre. I enjoyed the illustrations and the way that Norton brought this county and these characters to life. But I think the messages just got watered down a little bit too much for me. There was too much that was trying to be said, and there were also some plot points that I found personally to be really interesting, and some plot twists that I thought were going to develop farther that just kind of fizzled out. I did end up giving the final volume in this series, volume 8, 4 stars, just because I appreciated the conclusion to this series. I liked the ending that they provided, and I did like the little epilogue because it brought things back full circle. And I am a sucker for books and series that kind of bring things back to where it all began in a new way and just hint at what possibly could occur in the future and make you question if the characters really learned anything from what took place. But yes, I have finished the Revival comic book series, and I enjoyed my journey with the Revival characters. I think I'm going to pick up the compendium, which collects together all 8 volumes, and that should be coming out, I believe, at the beginning of November. It was supposed to come out sometime in October, but I think the publication date has been pushed out. So I will be picking up that compendium and maybe flipping through it at some point in the future. But for now, my journey with Revival, the comic book series, has come to an end for right now at the very least. And then, as you may have seen in a little bit of B-roll, I did very briefly start Can't Spell Treason Without T. I am only 1 chapter in, so I am still getting to know our characters. I didn't have as much time to read Can't Spell Treason Without T as I would have liked on the weekend. I got pulled away on Sunday and I prioritized finishing Revival. But I think I'm gonna take this book here to bed and curl up and read a few more chapters at the very least to see if I can at least make a good solid dent in it before the end of the month, before midnight tomorrow. But so far I am enjoying the introduction to this world. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I also went into this book with the expectation that it wouldn't be a human story. I expected there to be fantasy creatures akin to D&D in this book, and I think that is because of Travis Baldtree's Legends and Lattes, which is a cozy fantasy book that brings to life D&D-like characters. I think our characters are all human in this book. I could be mistaken, but I think that is going to be the case. So I'll update you tomorrow with how I progress in this book here. And then the final update that I have is going to be my reading of Wolf Hall. Again, I have only been reading or listening to the audiobook, but I am now 43% of the way into Wolf Hall. This isn't a book that I absolutely need to sit down and devour start to finish. It is very much a book that is a little bit more piecemeal, a little bit more slower going, and it has been one that I've very much been enjoying just throwing on the audiobook and listening to as I putter around and do some small little tasks. And the timeline is quite expansive so far. In my last update, I think we were at the end of 1529, beginning of 1530. We are now at the end of 1530. So things are moving along quite rapid fire, and we're just getting little bits and pieces to pull together this big world and this massive cast of characters. So it's not one that I absolutely feel the need to finish right away, but I find that often tends to be the case with historical fiction, especially when it's taking place over a long timeline. It's covering many years. It's a little bit more slower going for me when I'm reading that type of book, but that doesn't mean that I enjoy it any less. But so far, that has been my reading throughout this reading vlog, which has taken place over the last 5 days or so. So I finished 3 volumes of a comic book series, and I've read a handful of chapters between Wolf Hall and Can't Spell Treason Without T. But yes, this is going to be my penultimate update. We'll see how much reading I get done tonight before I call it a day and go to sleep. And tomorrow is going to be likely another long one for me at work as well. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to get read before the end of day tomorrow, but I thought it would be nice to wrap this reading vlog up, have it take place over the course of a week, and really be like a Hallo-week reading vlog. But yes, those are my updates for now, and I will check back in with you all tomorrow. Final reading update time, and it is going to be short and sweet. Today is November 1st, and I did not manage to read as much as I would have liked yesterday, but I did have a really good Halloween, and I hope that you had a really good Halloween too, or Diwali if you celebrate. So I only managed to read another chapter in Can't Spell Treason Without T, but I can tell that I'm really going to enjoy this book. I like the characters, I'm enjoying the world that Thorne is describing, and I'm already rooting for our characters, even though I'm only 4 chapters in. Yes, 4 chapters in. So that's a really good sign, and I think I'm going to definitely make a good dent in the book this weekend, if not finish it. But then in terms of the other books that I read throughout this reading vlog, I obviously finished the Revival series, and I really grew to appreciate that series more as it neared its conclusion. I also am about 45% of the way through Wolf Hall right now, and I am really enjoying the world that Mantel is creating within Tudor England. and the life she is injecting into what could have very easily been a drier read, more textbook-like. So those are the books that I managed to read in the past week. One book that did not make its way into this reading vlog and remains unfinished on my October TBR is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I knew that it would be too much to try and squeeze that read in this past week too. But no matter how long it takes me, I am going to complete a full series reread before I pick up Wind and Truth in December. That means I might be picking up Wind and Truth at the end of December, beginning of January, but regardless of when I finish the series, I'm not allowing myself to start Wind and Truth until that day passes. So stay tuned in November to see what progress I make. But for now, that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will be back soon with a new one. Bye for now. My brain is absolutely struggling. Humanity and how mortality ties into our mortality. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I'm so gross.